So you want to know the crystal ball, or what's the outlook for the 2023 housing market? Well, we're going to bring it to you on this week's Keeping Current Matters National Housing Market Update. And what's really interesting is the indicators the first week in January lead to perhaps some bullish signs in the real estate market coming into springtime. So let's dive into what we always cover. And remember, we have your national housing market update that we put out, as well as your First to Know Colorado local market update. And every single week, we will bring the two together because each week matters as you kick off the start of a year. And just like anything, if real estate or the acquisition or selling of a property is one of your goals, urgency matters as well when it comes to spending time learning and researching the market. So let's dive into the first topic we always go over, which is overall inventory. And as you can see from the graph, total inventory was at 471,000 homes, which is still 40% less than January 2020. So we're going to take things back to pre-pandemic. Since we've been going through a correction the last 6 months, we are now in a more normalized market, and we're going to follow what is happening with jobs and overall inflation and mortgage rates, which really is going to dictate a lot when it comes to demand. But with inventory, you can see that we continue to see a decrease of overall inventory, which is very seasonal. And what usually will happen is a couple weeks into January, we start to see inventory rise. However, we may continue to follow over the next couple weeks, inventory continuing to decrease, which will put on some more upward pressure for pricing as we get into the spring home buying and selling season of February, March, and April. But as you can also see, there was a 4% decline just in 1 week of inventory here in January. California saw a notable amount of inventory decrease. And remember, inventory decreasing just puts us more into a market that is beneficial for sellers, meaning that home price appreciation continues to rise. But remember, it's also very good for buyers because nobody wants to buy a home and then see home prices go down. So we're getting into a more normalized market, and overall, what we'll continue to look at is, does inventory increase, which is typical a couple weeks into January, or do we continue to see that drop all the way through like we saw over the last couple years going through the pandemic into March and April, which is what led to a lot of that rate of home prices increasing. Now, the other thing that you want to look at is the weekly new inventory. So you can see from these two graphs here, the dark red and the lighter. Well, the lighter side is the new listings this week. So you can see we had a very low amount of people bringing homes to the market this week. The red, all right, is the overall amount of new listings that were not immediate sales. So the lighter color, as you can see over the last year, from December 2022 to January 2022, 46,000 new listings last year came to the market, while we only saw 38% this year. That's 17% less listings coming to the market. And that light bar, again, as we discussed, is the immediate sales of those new listings, which is decreasing even more as well. So less homes come in the market and less of them. So back to, again, demand for buyers, and good signs is that they're coming off the market even quicker. Now, the other component or indicator that we've been following is total single family homes pending contract with new contracts per week. What this means is, just as you look at inventory to dictate what type of market, sellers, buyers, or neutral market, we're continuing to see inventory decrease. And here in Colorado, back down to under 1.5 months of inventory, which again is a extreme seller's market. So as we start to see the demand of more buyers come out, it's going to be very beneficial for home prices to continue to rise locally. And that really is the story. As you look at nationally, you can see there's a lot less homes that are going under contract. Really, when you look at it, 35% fewer than last year. What this really means is just less people are transacting. So a lot of sellers just like yourself, have been sitting on the sidelines saying, my rates are good. The home prices have not been favorable the last 6 months. So why don't we just not do anything for the moment, which is, as we've been talking about over the last 6 months, a good thing for many people is to wait it out. But while you're waiting it out, thank you for spending time with us learning. And you can see that each week it's becoming more favorable for those that may want to get back into the market now that prices are stabilizing. As you look at 35% fewer than last year, that just means that the people in the industry, the agents, the mortgage brokers, the title brokers, everybody that's responsible for these transactions is just seeing about 35% less of them happening, which is also taking out 35% of the people that were saying, I really want to do this right now. So you can see why the last 6 months, some national and local markets saw price decreases in their localized markets is because of the fact that a lot of people demand started saying, this is not what I want to do right now. And so those that were forced to sell over that period of time saw price reductions, which we'll get into to close our weekly housing market. But before we do, as you look at the median home list price, this is what we talked about. Some good signs when it comes to home prices, as you look at the red line being the median home price, all right, and then the light line, the median price of new listings. So obviously you're going to get a higher price for the new listings if the market is becoming more favorable. Those that have been sitting, they were not prepared right, they were not promoted and market right, they lose out on the profit because of the decision making in whatever time frame it took to get those homes sold. And so you remember, in our local market of Colorado, it's taken about 40 days to get a home sold. So the newer listings that come on the market, if they can get sold faster, and remember, a lot of people, as they're looking at new properties, don't necessarily pay attention to the ones that have been on the market for a longer period of time. So what's interesting about this is as you start looking at overall home prices, that was a big jump on the median price of new listings. And we saw for the first time in the last 6 months, an increase in the median home price in general of listings. So again, in January, we would normally see this happen in March, April. However, based off where inventory is, if inventory continues to increase, we might start to see that level out. But the next couple of weeks, if we continue to see home prices rise, it's very bullish. It's a good sign that the inventory and the demand of many people coming into the market of 2023 is now normalizing, and we're starting to see home price appreciation now that we're through the correction. So remember, across the nation and locally, most places in 2023 still saw year over year home price appreciation. And unfortunately, most of the headlines are hurting because all they're talking about is something that happened over the last month, or talking about markets like Austin, where their home prices are down 10%. But guess what? When you start looking at the overall home prices across the entire greater area, upwards to 20. So there's a lot of difference in markets, and we need to make sure that you're spending time with professionals. So every week, we'll keep letting you know what's happening. And to close out today, again, you can see the red line here on price reductions. We are starting to see those tick down to 36.5% of new listings that come on the market. So 1 out of every 3. And remember, a traditional market, normal market in periods of time through the second and third quarter is usually around 30-ish%. So now that we're getting away from where we were ending, if you look at that kind of lighter red line of 2022, yes, we know that in June through December, we saw a correction, and a lot of homes that chose to stay on the market needed to reduce price. But if anything, we'll continue to follow the market over the next couple weeks, keep you updated. And from our family to yours, we wish you a very happy new year, all your resolutions and goals being met. And if real estate is one of those, we look forward to spending 15 minutes with you to talk a little bit more about your situation and advise you more on your local market. From me to you, until next week, we'll talk to you soon.